Good evening, everyone. It is Alex yet again, and tonight I am going to be speaking about a recent install I just did actually. I've installed a new operating system on a spare computer that I have. It is Linux Mint, and I just wanted to show it to you a little bit. And I'm actually going to be installing Sql Server 19, I believe it is, on this computer as well. So, uh, as you can see, the Linux Mint looks a lot like Windows 10. Um, I think that's by design, obviously. They tried to make it real easy for folks to be able to use. So, let me clear that all out there. And so, the next step I'm going to do is I'm going to actually, there's one small issue that I'm trying to resolve here on this particular build, this kernel, and that is trying to get the Wi-Fi to work. And so I've got a support request out to a forum over here on the Linux Mint forums over here. And so there's my post right there. And I've done some pre-work here and posted some information out there for folks to see. So hopefully they'll get back with me soon. In any case, what we're going to do is we're going to install Microsoft SQL Server 2019 on this particular box. And so to do that, I'm just going to head to this Manjaro site and I'm going to install it using these next steps. I'm just going to kind of guide you through and let you see how this kind of looks. I've never done this on Linux Mint before. I've done it on Ubuntu and I think I did it on Kali Linux once before. So this is new for Linux Mint because I've never, this is Linux Mint is a different Linux distribution for me to use. I'm still getting used to it. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to update the system. I've already done that. So I'm going to go to step 2, which is configure the repository. So we're going to copy this, copy all of it, Alex. And then we're going to open up a Linux terminal. And I'm going to just kind of paste this over here and put that over there. And let's make this a little bit larger so you can maybe see what's going on. Nope, I'm trying to get that much larger here. And Control plus. I'm trying to make this bigger. Control plus plus. Control plus plus. That's not working. There we go. It's Control Shift plus plus. Make it a little smaller. Okay, so we're going to paste that command. First, let's drag that back over there. There we go. So we're going to paste that command over there. And what this is it's going to do a get on this particular library, this repository. I don't know everything about the Linux command shell, so I apologize. I'm going to type in my super user password there. And it says OK. So next, we're going to add the SQL Server Repository. Do the same thing and paste that over there. And now we're going to update and install SQL Server. So we're going to do the sudo apt update first. That way you can type sudo update. And that's going to do the install, or that's going to do the update for all the packages. And then you're going to do the sudo, clear that, sudo apt-get install Sql Server. and it's going to tell you that you've only got so much space, blah, blah, blah. Um, it says you're going to have to get 227 megs of stuff. SQL Server is a good size, little chunk of stuff there. So I'm going to say yes. So it's going to go out there and grab all of the stuff from the SQL Server um, repo again, or it's actually downloading the program there. Now it's installing. Da, 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 da. So this is the hardest, this is the longest part, one of the longer parts, because it's got to unpack or unzip or um, take out of those archives the SQL Server packages and to put them where they need to be. So there we go. All right, now we're going to do exactly what this tells us to do. We're going to run that setup. So I'm going to copy that and paste that over here too. Okay, so this is asking us what edition do we want to put in there? Do we want an evaluation edition or developer edition or express edition? So you're going to pick one of the top three. Um, I'm a dev, and in the long run, even though they are different editions, the developer and the evaluation, well, the evaluation gives you a 180-day limit to evaluate. Um, the dev edition gives you the ability to use it for free, but you can't um, have anything that's out in a production environment in the public, and then or in a production environment. And then finally, the Express is a free version, obviously. So I'm going to pick number two personally. Hit enter. It's going to tell me that there's some licensing that I need to pay attention to, and I've already known about it. So I'm going to say yes. And then it's going to be our SQL Server administrator password. Now, this is basically what you would, if you're on a Windows system, your SA user, this is going to be the password for that. So I'm going to type a password in there. And it says it does not meet your password policy. It has to be 8 characters long. So I'm going to do that. There we go. And now it's going to configure SQL Server as a developer edition on my Linux machine here. And usually you would do something like this on a different box. You wouldn't do this on a development box. But um, uh, since I've got this one box, I'm not going to do that on another box. So now it says that setup's completed successfully. SQL Server is starting. So let's go back to our web page here. We've done all that. We've done all that. All right. So now let's check to see if the service is up and running. And what the service is that is the ability for you to speak with your SQL Server. So let's copy that and run that command over there. Let me make that a little bit bigger. So this shows that our service is actively running. Our SQL Server is running. 36 seconds ago at the time I ran this, there's the SQL Server PID for our process. It's a process ID. Um, and it tells us that we've got some data, some blob data there that's running there. And now, since this is a, let me get out of there. This is a Vim shell, so let's break out of there. And to do that, what I did was I hit colon Q to get out of there. So now you can do one of two things. You can use a command line tool for your SQL Server. So you can do command line stuff in SQL Server. I am personally not a big fan of command line SQL, personally, but you can follow these if you want to. Um, but now what I'm going to do is I'm going to look for an editor, and the editor that I've picked out to use for this particular purpose is gonna be Visual Studio, Visual Studio Code. So let's go to Visual Studio Code. Let's Google that and say Visual Studio Code for Linux. Download. And you go to download Visual Studio Code. You'll see the little penguin fella there. And so you'll want to use the Debian um, install there. But let's just double check because this is a different distribution of Linux. So let's go to Google that and let's just double check Visual Studio Code for Linux Mint 20. And let's look here. And we can do it on the Snap Store. So let's just go to the Snap Store here. Let's look here. Okay, so here's what we need to do. I've already, because I had to install the OBS Studio, so I had to already get rid of this no stop. So I ran these two here. AJ, shh, quiet, baby. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to run this one right here. So I'm going to click this and copy that line there, go back to my terminal. Let's clear our terminal. We'll paste that and hit enter. And it's going to go ahead and install Visual Studio Code for me, hopefully. And she's a flying, she's a flying, she's a flying. And it should be done here soon. And bam. All right, so now if I come over here to my all applications, I should see down here in the V's, I should see Visual Studio Code. Alrighty. So, so here, now baby. So here's Visual Studio Code. You'll get it back. You'll get it back when you're done eating. Yeah, yes, ma'am. And, and so, all right, so our Visual Studio Code is installed here, right there. And if I launch that, let's see what happens when I launch that. I'm gonna minimize that. And there's Visual Studio Code running nice and clear and clean here. I'm gonna close that right there. I don't like the welcome page, so I'm gonna just get rid of that there. So how do we get our SQL Server Management Studio to work, our SQL Server, sorry, I'm talking Windows, our SQL Server to work with Visual Studio Code? Well, what we can do is we can come over here and go over to where it said Visual Studio Code. Visual Studio with, well, I misread. We need Visual Studio. If you use Visual Studio, oh, um, let's see. Visual Studio with SQL Server data tools is what we need. So let's go to that website for Visual Studio. I didn't know that you could run Visual Studio over on a Linux box. I didn't think you could. So let's see, SQL Server Visual Studio IDE. If you use Visual Studio, that's Windows, Mac, and Linux. I don't think that's right, but let's see here. It says this can reduce the number of tools you use to get the blah 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 done. Let's go to a website again here. Let's actually go to Visual Studio. That's Visual Studio Code, Visual Studio IDE. Download Visual Studio Community. I don't think this is going to, no, cancel. Let's go back here. Thank you, ma'am. I did not think that you can run that in Linux. That's what I thought. But we can still, bam, we can still do that. So we've done this. Now we're going to, uh-oh, what happened there? We're going to go to, oh, what's going on here? I got stuff blacking out on me here. We're going to go to the marketplace in Visual Studio Code. So that's here. And then let's go MS SQL. We're going to install this plugin here. And that gives us the ability to run that. And that's installed globally. Let's see what other tools they've got here. This is a 4-star one here, so we can see SQL Server, like a database hero, query runner, execution. Let's install that one too. Sorry, I had myself muted because you just wouldn't want to hear me chewing. So let's restart our Visual Studio Code here. Back to all accessories, all applications, I mean. Go to Visual Studio Code. Let's go down here. That's where it says create or open an SQL file. So I'm going to say file, new file. Select plain text on the lower status bar or Control K, Control M, and select SQL from the languages drop down. So Control K, Control M, and select SQL. Languages drop down. Let's click plain text there, and let's go down to SQL here. Right there. Okay. So as you can see, it's doing some more, It's doing some more stuff here and it's installing some more tools here. Okay, let's see here. It says failed to load tools service. So let's go over here and let's try to do some troubleshooting here. I am hooked up. Yeah, okay. Visual Studio Code failed to load SQL tool service. And let's see here. What is the solution? Let's see what the fix was here. I wonder if it just doesn't have support for this particular build of Linux here. Let's try this again here. Let's try to run that again. Let's see here. It says SQL is selected there. Okay, so what we're doing now is so it's disconnected here. And so what we need to do is we need to connect to our server. So let's go back up here. Where'd you go? So our server name uh, I don't know if that's the SQL server name or not, but I think that's the SQL server name, but let's just double check. We can go back over here. Okay, so let's go to Control Shift P to open the command palette. We're going to type Sql. Control Shift P. Sql. Say connect. And then we're going to select the Manage Connection Profiles command. Control Shift P. Connect. Create connection profile. Server name or ADO connection string. So let's find out how to get our server name. So let's see if the server name is localhost. Let's see localhost. And then let's see if there's a database there, or actually let's just say localhost. There's no database there. We're going to say SQL login. And usually SA is username. Save password, enter. And I am connected. So let's do a quick select star from select from information tables. See if this works. And let's run that. Uh-oh. There we go. Yep. And let's run that. Oh, come on. Yes, I do. Choose a database from the list, but no. Master. And run it. There we go. So we have actual tables and we are connected to our database now. So now we can use Microsoft Visual Studio. We can use Visual Studio Code to create tables and to uh, insert data and do all the good stuff. So hopefully that helps you. Until next time, this is Alex. Peace out.